You had booked a vacation. You drove into Halifax, got a hotel for the night, and then you never really got to the airport. You're one of those guys that got caught up in the I call it scandal, but I guess it's not technically a scandal. But there certainly were some questionable dealings with a vacation flight company, and you didn't get to go on vacation. But you were not going to be deterred. So, come home again. A couple of weeks later, you booked a different one. This time you actually got away. So where did you go? What do you do? And was it worth it?
Oh, yeah. Well, certainly worth it. We usually go down for a week somewhere, and this particular year we went to Puerto Plata in the Dominican, and we were fortunate to get another place that was just wonderful. It was just a small resort, 190 rooms, which is something that makes it pretty interesting. No lineups to go anywhere within the resort, and the weather was just amazing. So in terms of having a good vacation, we did have one, but I'll tell you, it was a challenge to get one booked and reorganize it with the carrier, and we had our challenges, but we made it.
Well, when I asked the question, was it worth it? I don't mean the second effort. Was it worth it when you combine the first effort and all the frustration? You spent a couple of days in Halifax. You couldn't get out of the country, and perhaps, in fact, looking back on it, that was a good thing because an awful lot of Canadians did get out of the country and couldn't get home. So I wonder, the effort you went through 2 times to get a vacation, that's what I meant. Was it worth it to do all that wrangling?
Well, that's why we use a travel agent, because they do the real footwork on trying to get things reorganized for us. So all I can do is just say, oh, that's not right, that's unacceptable, or all that sort of stuff. But really, when you use a travel agent, that's when you get the service you need to fight on your behalf to get the carrier to provide you with what they need to provide you with. So, no, it turned out okay, and it actually ended up being better than the place we were going to go to. So it worked out.
My winter travel is not nearly as spectacular as yours, but I make a point to go south every winter as well. I get 1, maybe even 2 trips to Truro, and that's it for me. Now let's get down to business here. Enough of this.
Sure.
Yes, sir. While you were away, of course, we had a wonderful opportunity to talk to your deputy mayor, Hal Davidson. The man is so fluent. I mean, you ask a question and he can get you right down to the most vivid detail in a way that you can understand so easily. And I guess he went to your school. You taught him well. That's good of you.
Well, yeah, it does come with experience for sure, and our deputy having been there the previous term, it really makes a difference when you've got that continuity on your council and you can rely on people who know a lot about the background.
And speaking of background, we've got a lot of background to catch up on because our plan, yours and mine, and with Hal Davidson as part of it, the plan was to simply talk to you the morning after a council meeting. And we've now allowed 2, if not 3, maybe even 4 to go by without a conversation. And this time of year, the council meetings take on a greater significance, of course, because you establish your annual budgets this time of year. And a lot of people wait to find out what they're going to have to pay in property tax and other services. And so we've got so much to talk about. I don't know where to start. Where would you suggest?
Well, why don't we just start with what always people ask me is, where's the tax rate going? And I guess the answer to that is it's council's intention to hold the tax rate. We're not going to do any increase. I know other municipalities across Nova Scotia have had to increase for different reasons, but we've combed through the budget, and this coming Monday we'll be approving the budget for this year, and our plan is to hold the tax rate.
Well, there's the scoop of the day right there. What?
Yeah.
We'll say goodbye. Thank you very much. No.
No. There's a lot. There's a lot of conversation that goes with establishing budgets and our capital and operating budgets, and
Well, that, yeah, yeah,
we have different.
that's the point I wanted to make. You actually broke the operating budget and capital budget into two pieces, held two full-fledged meetings with a lot of conversation. The fact that we didn't chat doesn't mean I didn't follow it. I certainly did, and the kind of the raw debate, the kind of down into the nitty-gritty that your councillors would go to when talking about budgetary items, they were really picking, really digging, looking for ways to justify, do we need to spend that money? And there were times I sat there watching the video, for example, and thinking to myself, my goodness, it sounds like we're taking the money out of that person's pocket, because they're not going to let go of it. And I thought, sometimes when you deal with municipal councils, town councils, and even more with provinces, the numbers get so big, you lose sight of what they really mean. And sometimes we can fight over $10 and let 10 million slide by, but not your council. Exactly. Your council looks at every penny.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what people elect you for, is to really make sure that we're spending the money in the right spots. And it starts with a strategic plan, and that outlines, the priorities for staff to be able to align the budget with. And I give credit where credit's due, and that's certainly with our staff. They've done an excellent job of putting together our budgets for both capital and operating this year. And we have a lot of new councillors, so you have to expect that, or at least anticipate that there'll be lots of questions anyway, because they're trying to understand the financial process. And so it's all good to go through it, in very detailed sessions, and I'm just pleased with the outcome.
And maybe we should explain to some people, or a lot of people really don't understand, it is in fact quite simple to deal with setting a tax rate within a town structure. And it basically boils down to this. You first have to determine what is your tax base, what is the assessment of all the properties in the town. How much are they assessed for? Then you kind of attack it, what would we like to spend money on? And you come up with a cost factor for running the town. And then you divide that into the assessment, and that gives you a tax rate. So every year in the spring, people get their tax assessments, and they maybe see their property tax has been assessed at a higher rate, and they immediately assume, oh, my taxes are going up and so on. But it isn't always just that. That's not the only factor. And as you said, you can actually go into a budget process with the view that we are not going to raise taxes. And in fact, you have the authority and the control to do just that. So having a rise in your assessment does not necessarily mean that you're going to have, pay more tax, because you can, in fact, lower the tax rate. So you're looking to get a total sum to pay the bills for what you believe to be the important expenditures. And if the tax assessments go up, if you suddenly have a whole bunch of new construction, you've got new taxes coming in, that impacts on the actual rate that you establish. And sometimes you can hold the rate while providing additional services.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Bill, because that has been our focus is new development in the town, and certainly that's been the case and continues to be the case. We're already well above our average units for construction this year, and that assessment softens the blow on our tax rate, just like you said. So you're absolutely right on the money.
Now, again, I mentioned there's kind of two budgetary processes. One is for the operation of the town itself, and the other is what they call the capital budget. And I've noticed a bit of a trend here that maybe because we've let infrastructure go so long without attention, and we've got new construction requiring new infrastructure, maybe it's for that. But I've noticed a dramatic increase in capital spending. Now, can you help us understand the difference between a capital budget and an operating budget?
Certainly, the operating budget is your day-to-day operation. So if we need to have X number on staff within the Parks Department, then that's one section of the budget. And so those are called your general operating items, and they make up the operating part of the budget. Now, the capital is certainly when council and staff are recommending that we purchase or take on large projects, or even the purchase of a vehicle is a capital item. So in this case, we're in the capital budget are things like a new vehicle for our town trucks, our works department. There's vehicle in there for the police department. There's other larger items that are one-time planned costs for that item. And as we buy them, then we begin to depreciate them, of course, and they become part of the regular operating budget. So each year, whatever council sees as being important to purchase, and there's give and take when it comes to capital. I'll tell you, there's lots of discussion on, well, do we really need that particular item? What about if we get this instead? So there's lots of thinking going on during the capital budget process to see if there's alternatives. Staff do a great job of putting together, the reasons why this should be done now. And quite frankly, years ago, we didn't have a plan for replacement of vehicles and equipment. And now we do. It's a long-term plan of well over 5 years, where we look ahead and we say, that vehicle is going to come up for renewal. We're going to need to replace it because it's got 300,000 kilometers on it, and we're spending a fortune just to repair it to keep it on the road, and we're better off to replace it. So, a lot of conversation when it comes to capital items in our town.
And, of course, another way to look at capital versus operational is that the things you decide that you need to do to run the operation of the town, hence the operational budget, paying the salaries, turning on the lights, heating the buildings, and paying for maintenance and repairs and on. These are things that the money is budgeted for this year and spent and paid for this year. When it comes to building a brand new town hall or a community center or any major project, those projects don't get paid for necessarily in 1 year, but are capitalized or amortized over a number of years. And you may have a capital budget where you're making payments on an annual basis, and that gets spread out over a long period of time. Those are big ticket items normally.
They are, and things, even little items like the previous council had committed to the Amherst Little League funding for 3 years, and that's a regular capital item that we're committed to pay out over a course of 3 years. And so, it can be small, it can be big, but they're commitments that are one-time events is how you view them as.
Yeah. Now, of course, we mentioned that this is the time of year. You're, in fact, a little bit late compared to other municipalities in terms of finalizing your budget process and coming up with the tax rate. You said it will be coming up on Monday, but you're a little bit late. And, over the last couple of months, a lot of your time and attention has gone into the discussion of those items. But at the same time, the town still operates and the town council still meets to deal with the monthly obligations of council. What's gone on within the regular council meeting, your committee of the whole and the council meetings in terms of the objectives and business at hand, so to speak, over the last month, let's say?
Well, we've had quite a few meetings, actually, that were both internal and external. When it comes to, I was down your way just recently. I went to an Empowering Cumberland conference that was held at Fox Harbor, and I must say that going down that road along the shore there, what a beautiful area. I hadn't been down there in years, and I got to say, it was just amazing. But that Empowering Cumberland conference dealt with recognizing disabilities of individuals and providing them with opportunity for employment and they have all the life skills and the strengths that they have, even though they may have disabilities, whether you can see them or not. And that's the other point. Many people have disabilities, but you may not know just by looking at them. So that was an important conference to go to. But in terms of the regular day-to-day items, we've been, of course, having to complete some of the projects. We had the downtown, the town hall itself was going through a major change in the layout of the front, and we wanted to get that finished off. It looks like it's nearing its end now. So that's a thankful thing to see down there, because when people are walking in, they're wondering what's going on here. And the other things have to do with business and just kind of making things when people ask for requests or we get new development requests going on. Those are regular items that are discussed at council, and it makes for a busy time right now. And I did mention to our CAO, I hope that we can kind of cover off as much as we can before June, because people have a tendency when July and August get here to kind of just take her cool for the summer months. So we've got a lot to do.
And no question about it. And you've been extremely busy, to be sure. I say you, I mean the council. And, when you think about so many times a thankless kind of job, and perhaps we in the media see you differently because we spend as much time in the council meeting as you do, not anywhere near as much time as you do before and after those meetings, of course, within the community. But we get to see you firsthand, and, the depth to which you have to read and learn and understand and put into compartments as to, how are we going to prioritize these things for the town. I remember a man by the name of Zwicker. He was the mayor of Lunenburg, and I'm going back decades now, Sherman Zwicker. And he had a saying that he used quite often. He said, we can buy and have and do anything we want in our town, but then we, then we might not be able to afford to live there.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have the power and authority to say, yeah, let's buy that. We'll buy that too. And we'll buy 3 more of those. The point being, you have the power and authority to establish tax rates and do other things. And I'm sure you get a wish list from your public. And you're right. You could say we can have all of that, but we wouldn't be able to afford to live here. So you're the I guess the saving grace. You're the last bastion of defense before we spend ourselves into oblivion.
Well, the one thing that the municipalities are responsible for is to have balanced budgets. It's completely different when it comes to provincial and federal governments, but we're held accountable to ensure that any deficit that a municipality runs, they have to carry it over to the next year. And of course, that puts pressure on the tax rate. You can do less. You can, roads, infrastructure, water, all become a problem. And we've seen that in municipalities that have gone over the top in terms of spending money.